Maybe you like Star Wars, maybe it's Lord of the Rings, heck, maybe it's even Ninjago. Whatever it is, by the end of the video, you'll be equipped with everything you need for prop making. Can be something as complicated as a helmet here, or as simple as this shuriken. First of all, if you're looking into getting a 3D printer, I'd recommend a high quality one like this one here from Bamboo Lab. Trust me, you do not want to buy a crappy Creality printer just because you saw that it was cheap. This one was $700, which seems expensive, but in the world of 3D printing, it's almost a steal. It doesn't get any better than this for the price. Even if you don't want a printer, you could still buy props online, but I couldn't recommend one enough.
Something that you're absolutely going to need, especially if you have a smaller 3D printer like me, is this CA super glue. Now, it takes about a minute to cure, and it just does a great job of getting the strongest adhesion possible. And if you want to take it a step further, later in the video we'll be talking about 2 other methods you can use, but I would absolutely recommend this. It is just so important for prop making. Now, the next thing is really boring, and you don't technically need it, but you pretty much do, and that's going to be gloves. Now, this is just 100 pack of black rubber gloves. Trust me, when you are using CA glue, you do not want to get that stuff on your hands. I've gotten lazy before, and I've gotten it on my fingers, and it actually took days to get off. So trust me, take the extra minute or 2 to put gloves on, and I try to reuse them just by taking them off my hands, even if I have a little something on them, just to save as much money as possible. Now, the next thing, it's really boring to buy, but trust me, you're gonna need it, is sandpaper. Now, I bought this, it came from like 80 grit up to 2500, and while I've never actually gone up that high, it's nice to have it. It comes in these long strips. I like to cut them in half, and then eventually I'll fold them just because it makes it a little easier. Again, not something that is exactly fun like paint, but it's something that you definitely need to have if you want to get into prop making. When we get to our filling stage in the process, there are 3 ways to do it, at least 3 that I've tried, being Bondo, wood filler, and modeling paste. The first one that I tried is Bondo Glaze and Spot Putty. It's only $6 for one of these things, so not too bad, but it's not that small of a tube. I also have tried the one in a big bucket. It saves you a lot of money, but it's real pain, so I recommend just buying it in these tubes here. The only downside is these things are really toxic. They're gonna stink up your whole house. Another way, like I just talked about, is wood filler. Now, this thing was $10 for the whole tub, and it's okay. I would actually say this is probably the one I wouldn't recommend out of the 3, but it does its job. It can, if you wanted to fill in gaps on helmet, it'd be good for that, just so you don't have to waste other material, and you can just use this stuff. It is kind of a pain to spread around because it's really like lumpy, and it doesn't spread like Bondo does. You can mix it with either acetone or lacquer thinner, and you can brush it on the helmet, but it leaves all that chunks, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. So you could go with wood filler, but I honestly wouldn't recommend it. Now, the last option I've tried for the filling stage is going to be this Liquitex modeling paste. Now, this is the most expensive out of the 3, but it is by far my favorite. It's non-toxic, so you can do it inside if you want. I still do it in my garage anyways. Now, it is kind of small for this thing, but honestly, it's lasted a lot longer than I thought it has. And it is really nice because you can just mix it with water and then brush it all over the helmet, which is what I like to do. So I would definitely recommend this Liquitex as your filler. Moving on to primer, I have this gray Rust-Oleum primer. This is a really popular option in the prop making industry, and I mean, it's well deserved. This thing does a great job of covering layer lines, just filling them in. Wherever the Bondo or wood filler or modeling paste can get, this does a really good job of seeping into the lines. So yeah, it is kind of expensive, but I would definitely recommend getting this one. Now, I also use a second color primer, being black. I chose this Rust-Oleum, and honestly, you can use whatever, but I would recommend not getting the sandable one just because it's super messy. Like, I got it in my fingers like a month ago, or probably 3 months ago, honestly, and some of it is still there. Like, it filled in my fingerprints like they were layer lines. So I would recommend not getting that one, but what the black does, it just helps reveal all of the little imperfections that the gray couldn't. All right, now we have paint. We're finally getting to the fun stuff. Montana Gold. This paint is really good. The caps are terrible. Now, I bought these replacement caps, and what it does is just changes the intensity of the blast, because the problem I was having was I'd get little bumps all over, and it was terrible. So if you buy Montana Gold, you need to buy replacement caps, which is really stupid, but their paint is just so good, you need to do it. Now this one is a shock yellow, and I used it for my clone pilot helmet, which you guys are going to be seeing soon. This, let's see, which one is this? I think it's a French beige. Could be wrong on that one, but this one I used for my Shore Trooper helmet, which you guys saw earlier, which is the same paint they used in the movie for the actual props. And then lastly, this shock orange is the same paint that I used for my 332nd helmet. It's so good. I really recommend Montana Gold, but only if you get the replacement caps. I love Ninjago, and I wanted to make all of the 4 golden weapons. I chose this metallic gold Rust-Oleum paint, and it's just perfect. I would definitely recommend this paint if you wanted to make any of the golden weapons. Rust-Oleum overall just makes great paint. I know Krylon's pretty popular. I use a few of their paints, but I try to stay away for the most part. I know I just said that I don't use a lot of Krylon paint, but this is the same paint that I use for my Crosshair helmet. Now, it's a gloss red pepper, and it seems like it's pretty good. I also used Rust-Oleum purple paint for that Lego lightsaber that I showed you guys earlier. So you can definitely go for Krylon. They're a bit cheaper than Rust-Oleum, but overall I would try to avoid them. If you listen to anything, if you take anything away from this video, it needs to be this. If you are making any clone helmet, you need this white paint. The white paint that I use for all of the base coats of my helmet is this ultra matte white Rust-Oleum. I tried the Krylon matte, the Krylon satin, and it just turned out kind of like off-white, kind of like tint of gray, like terrible coverage. Do not buy a Krylon for white, buy that ultra matte Rust-Oleum white. Okay, next for a clear coat. Now there's different options for clear coat. I have this 2X matte clear coat from Rust-Oleum. Now I like to use this for all the helmets that have weathering, because I think a gloss clear coat looks super awkward. Like my 3rd ever helmet, I pretty heavily weathered it, and it looked terrible once I put this gloss clear coat. Now this is definitely good stuff. I use this for my golden weapons, and it does give it a nice pop, but I would be very careful, and I would lean towards the matte for a clear coat. Alright guys, we finally made through all the essential items. Now I'm going to give you a few recommendations, but things you don't necessarily need. First up is this mouse sander. Now this really comes in handy, saves you a lot of arm strength. It saves you literally hours for sanding. Like I can't recommend a mouse sander enough. Now, do you guys remember earlier when I was telling you how I use CA super glue to get maximum adhesion? Well, I'm about to let you in on a little secret. E6000. This stuff is so strong. Now it takes 24 hours to cure, so we use this as kind of just like an add-on, but your helmets are not going to fall apart after that. And then a soldering iron comes in really handy for quick adhesion. So what I'll do is I will put a layer of CA glue, and then I will melt the plastic together with a soldering iron, and then go straight to a layer of E6000. Guys, it's a game changer. You gotta trust me. All right, next is something that I honestly don't even use that much, and that is a respirator. Now it can come in handy if you're using like Bondo and you're sanding it away and you don't want to breathe in all those toxins, but for the most part I feel like it just gets in the way. And what I like to do is I'll blow off all of the dust when I'm sanding. No, it's probably not the best thing to do. I know a lot of people will get like a vacuum and try to suck it all up, but I just like to blow it off, and I'm not trying to lift this up every single time. So I usually don't use this, but if you're dealing with something toxic, I would say definitely throw on a respirator. Alright guys, we made it to the end of the video, and honestly I don't even use this one that much, being an airbrush. Now I use this for my Mandalorian helmet because the chrome, I bought an acrylic paint, and the reason I don't is because, not gonna lie, I'm pretty bad at it, but also cleanup and setup is kind of a pain. It just takes a long time. They're kind of expensive. I mean, they can run you between $50 and thousands of dollars if you want to get a commercial grade one. So I would recommend kind of limiting your airbrush use, but definitely something that I hope to improve on as I get better at prop making, and something you definitely don't need. But if you want the challenge, I'd say definitely invest in an airbrush. Guys, this is your sign. Stop thinking, stop waiting. Just go out, buy the 3D printer, do whatever you need, have fun with it. You're not going to be a pro at prop making right away. I certainly wasn't, certainly still not, but I really enjoy it, and it's a good thing to do with your free time. So I hope you guys feel confident enough to get started on your prop making journey. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. See ya.